The intricate world of international high-profile security operations is often governed by standard operating procedures that remain entirely hidden from the public eye. Yet few subjects have generated as much intense global fascination and media scrutiny as the protective detail surrounding Prince Harry. The debate regarding who is entitled to state-funded protection and who must navigate the world unprotected has transcended mere administrative policy to become a focal point of modern cultural discourse. At the heart of this complex narrative lies a dense network of specialized government committees, historic royal protocols, and the deeply personal intersecting dynamics of a family operating under an unprecedented global microscope. For years, observers have parsed every legal filing and public statement trying to decipher how a modern state balances the genuine safety requirements of globally recognized individuals against the rigid legal frameworks that dictate the distribution of public resources. This ongoing tension raises fundamental questions about the true intersection of public service, personal safety, and hereditary status in an era defined by rapid communication and heightened security challenges. If you find these deep structural explorations of contemporary royal history and investigative media analysis compelling, please consider subscribing to the channel to ensure you never miss our detailed breakdowns of these evolving global narratives. The shifting sands of institutional decisions often provide the most revealing insights into how power is managed behind closed doors, creating an atmosphere where every minor procedural update can signal a massive tectonic shift in institutional relationships. To truly understand the current state of affairs regarding the upcoming high-profile visits and the logistical arrangements being organized for the summer, one must first look backward to the pivotal administrative decisions that fundamentally altered the relationship between the British state and its overseas residents. The bureaucratic architecture that governs these decisions is notoriously private, operating through long-established committees that rarely interface directly with the media, which naturally fosters an environment ripe for speculation, strategic briefings, and public legal challenges. When an individual of immense global prominence steps away from traditional organizational roles, the immediate consequence is not merely a change in daily responsibilities, but a complete reevaluation of the legal categories that dictate state interaction. This operational reclassification forms the true backdrop of the current unfolding drama, creating a complex puzzle where legal definitions, public perceptions, and personal security concerns collide in the most public manner imaginable. The entire situation exemplifies how modern public figures must navigate a landscape where personal choices are constantly weighed against systemic institutional rules, leaving very little room for compromise or informal diplomacy. As preparation begins for major upcoming international events on British soil, the underlying administrative friction threatens to overshadow the core charitable and commemorative purposes of these gatherings, turning a logistical challenge into a symbolic struggle for recognition and status. The complexities of this situation are further magnified by the sheer scale of the global media apparatus, which monitors every development, turning minor bureaucratic interactions into front-page news and creating a high-stakes environment where every move is analyzed for deeper meaning. This atmospheric tension sets the stage for a dramatic summer where the enforcement of rigid administrative boundaries will be tested against the practical realities of managing public safety for one of the most recognizable figures of the 21st century. The foundational conflict began to solidify several years ago during a period of rapid institutional transition that caught many traditional commentators by surprise, setting in motion a series of legal and public relations battles that continue to shape the contemporary media landscape. As the various factions prepared their arguments and sought to establish their respective positions in the public domain, the true nature of the administrative machinery involved began to emerge from the shadows of state bureaucracy. This initial phase of the conflict was characterized by a profound mismatch between the expectations of an individual accustomed to automatic state protection and the unyielding procedural logic of the committees tasked with safeguarding public funds and maintaining strict organizational hierarchies. The resulting impasse has created a long-standing narrative of grievance and counter-briefing where every public appearance and legal filing serves as a tactical move in a much larger strategic game regarding status, validation, and institutional belonging. As we approach the critical dates scheduled for later this summer, the unresolved nature of these fundamental questions ensures that the upcoming events will be scrutinized not just for their public impact, but for the subtle clues they provide about the ongoing, behind-the-scenes negotiations between a father, a son, and the state apparatus that stands between them. The operational reality of high-level VIP protection in the United Kingdom changed permanently in early 2020 when the Duke and Duchess of Sussex announced their intention to step back from their roles as senior working royals. This unprecedented decision instantly activated the complex machinery of the Royal and VIP Executive Committee, a highly specialized and historically low-profile body operating under the auspices of the Home Office. Known across global security networks as RAVI, this committee is tasked with the monumental responsibility of determining exactly who receives mandatory, state-funded armed police protection on British soil. The core criteria utilized by RAVC are exceptionally clear and rigidly applied, dictated primarily by an individual's active status as a working member of the royal family residing permanently within the United Kingdom. When Prince Harry voluntarily chose to relocate his family thousands of miles away to California, he fundamentally moved himself outside of this narrowly defined cohort, triggering an automatic reevaluation of his security status. Rather than completely severing all protective measures, the committee established what was deemed a fair and pragmatic compromise, transitioning his security to a bespoke, case-by-case arrangement. Under this specific protocol, the Duke is required to provide a mandatory 28 days of advance notice before any scheduled arrival on British soil, submitting a meticulous itinerary detailing his movements, locations, and public engagements. This information is then thoroughly analyzed by specialized risk assessment boards to determine the appropriate level of police intervention and protection required, based entirely on the specific facts of the visit. However, this bespoke framework has been a source of intense friction for over 6 years, frequently portrayed by the Sussex legal team as an unfair administrative penalty that compromises personal safety. The ongoing tension reached a critical flashpoint recently following a dramatic and highly publicized incident in Norfolk, where a masked individual reportedly managed to breach security and approach Prince Andrew along a country lane. This alarming security breach immediately reignited a fierce international media debate regarding the general safety of high-profile figures and the potential wider ramifications for the state if a serious incident were to occur on British soil. In the wake of these events, prominent media reports, including detailed investigations published in the Daily Mail, have revealed that a significantly beefed-up security package is being organized specifically for Prince Harry's upcoming high-profile visit to the United Kingdom this July. This enhanced protective detail is designed to comprehensively cover his public appearances, most notably the high-profile events surrounding the Invictus Games Foundation. The upcoming July visit is fraught with logistical and emotional complexity, particularly given the historical context of previous trips, where security concerns took center stage. During a prior visit connected to extensive high court proceedings, significant media attention focused on an alleged stalker who had reportedly managed to gain close proximity to the Duke at a public charity event. The Sussex communications apparatus utilized this deeply unsettling encounter to emphasize their long-standing argument that the lack of permanent, automatic protection creates an unacceptable level of risk. Yet, despite the sensationalized headlines suggesting a total overhaul of existing protocols, seasoned royal correspondents and institutional insiders maintain that the foundational rules governing state protection remain entirely unaltered. The Home Office and RAVC have never disputed the existence of a generalized threat matrix surrounding Prince Harry, especially given his high-profile background and public statements regarding his military service. Instead, the legal and administrative consensus remains firm that state-funded, round-the-clock armed security cannot simply be purchased as a private commodity or granted as a lifetime hereditary privilege independent of active public service. This distinction forms the core of the massive judicial review initiated by the Duke, a protracted and extraordinarily expensive legal battle that has wound its way through the highest courts of the land. Conservative estimates indicate that the legal costs associated with these multi-year challenges have surpassed well over £1 million, reflecting the immense stakes involved for both the individual and the state apparatus. In February 2024, the High Court issued a landmark ruling affirming that the decisions made by Rave C were completely lawful, rational, and procedurally fair, a judgment that was subsequently upheld by the Court of Appeal following further legal challenges. The public discourse surrounding these court battles has been further complicated by deeply emotional media interviews, where the Duke has expressed profound anxiety regarding the safety of his immediate family, explicitly drawing parallels to historical tragedies and stating that he cannot envision a scenario where his wife and children can safely return to his homeland under the current restrictions. This public stance has created what many analysts describe as a rigid rhetorical corner, making it exceedingly difficult for the Sussexes to travel to the United Kingdom with their children without experiencing a perceived loss of face regarding their long-standing security narrative. Simultaneously, the broader implications of these protective arrangements extend far beyond the immediate legal arguments, touching upon deep-seated familial dynamics and the complex balance of power within the contemporary monarchy. Reports have consistently circulated indicating that the Sussex team believes the king possesses the ultimate authority to intervene and resolve the security impasse with a single directive, citing historical precedents where private security measures were adjusted for other family members. However, institutional protocols dictate a strict separation between private family wishes and the independent administrative decisions of government security committees, leaving little room for informal parental intervention. This underlying structural impasse ensures that every upcoming public appearance is viewed through a lens of intense scrutiny, transforming routine logistical coordination into a symbolic battleground over status, recognition, and institutional belonging. As the countdown to the July events accelerates, the operational planning behind the scenes remains a highly confidential and delicate exercise in risk management, balancing the absolute necessity of maintaining public order with the rigid enforcement of established state regulations. The broader strategic implications of Prince Harry's ongoing security and institutional battles point toward a subtle, highly calculated effort at long-term reintegration, spearheaded from the very top of the British state. Behind the dense wall of legal filings and media counter-briefings, a fascinating pattern of institutional alignment has begun to emerge, suggesting that a delicate diplomatic process is quietly unfolding. This evolving dynamic is most clearly illustrated by the recent revelations regarding the Invictus Games, a widely respected international sporting foundation originally established in 2014 with the full institutional backing of the royal family. Recent reports have confirmed that King Charles III has explicitly voiced his support for the upcoming games scheduled to take place in Birmingham, publicly describing the initiative as an exceptionally worthy cause and noting the significant amount of taxpayer resources dedicated to ensuring its ultimate success. For seasoned observers of the contemporary monarchy, this public endorsement represents far more than routine charitable support, signaling a profound shift that could see the monarch standing shoulder to shoulder with his younger son on a global stage. This potential public reunion has generated immense discussion within institutional planning circles, representing what some insiders have termed a slow, systemic reintegration process designed to stabilize a highly volatile public narrative. This methodology of gradual reconciliation is further supported by the unexpected political and diplomatic choreography observed during recent international engagements, where the Duke's public statements on global affairs appeared to closely mirror the strategic messaging of the British state. This synchronization was particularly notable during high-profile international discussions regarding historical treaties and regional stability, raising intriguing questions among diplomatic correspondents about the degree of behind-the-scenes coordination currently taking place between the palace and the California-based household. However, this apparent path toward rehabilitation is meeting fierce internal resistance, most notably from Prince William, who reportedly maintains an exceptionally firm stance regarding the long-term status of non-working royals. The Prince of Wales is understood to favor a strict institutional model inspired by historic 20th century precedents, advocating for a complete, unambiguous separation between official state representation and private global commercial ventures. From this perspective, allowing a former working royal to operate in a semi-official capacity without being subject to traditional institutional discipline presents an unacceptable risk to the stability and clarity of the modern monarchy. This internal ideological divide turns the upcoming July gatherings into an incredibly high-stakes event, where every minor interaction, seating arrangement, and photographic opportunity will be parsed by the global media for clues about the future hierarchy of the institution. Adding an immense layer of complexity to this narrative is the current reality of the king's health, which has become the ultimate overarching factor influencing all long-term institutional planning. Despite highly anxious public expectations following his initial diagnosis, the monarch has responded remarkably well to his ongoing medical treatments, demonstrating a level of physical resilience that has allowed him to decisively reassert his executive authority over family affairs. This unexpected stabilization of the monarch's health has fundamentally altered the internal balance of power, signaling to all factions that the king intends to dictate the terms of family dynamics and regional visits according to his own personal and strategic timeline. For Prince Harry, the United Kingdom remains the primary hub for his most significant and enduring charitable operations, including the Invictus Games Foundation and highly regarded organizations dedicated to supporting the children of fallen military personnel. Despite establishing a new life in North America, his professional philanthropic legacy remains deeply rooted in British civic life, creating a powerful, ongoing incentive to establish a workable, long-term framework for regular travel to his homeland. The practical resolution to this complex dilemma appears to lie precisely within the beefed-up bespoke security arrangement that has been organized for the upcoming summer visits. By disconnecting an individual's physical safety from their formal institutional status, the British state can ensure absolute public safety on its soil without granting the explicit official validation or lifetime state-funded privileges that the Duke originally sought in the courts. This pragmatic, intelligence-led approach allows the government to navigate a highly sensitive logistical challenge while strictly upholding the statutory rules that protect public resources. As the critical date of July 10 approaches, the focus of the global public remains fixed on Birmingham, where the practical execution of these enhanced protective measures will finally be observed in real time. The presence or absence of the Duchess of Sussex and their young children, Archie and Lilibet, will serve as the ultimate indicator of whether a lasting structural compromise has been achieved, or if the deeply entrenched architectural gridlock of the past 6 years will continue to define this profound familial and institutional estrangement. Ultimately, the unfolding drama highlights the immense difficulty of separating personal identity from hereditary duty in the modern era,